This is the Business Today for Thursday, July 2nd, 2015. I'm Vic Fernandes. In light of the prevailing tense labor relations climate in Barbados, Minister of Labour Dr. Esther Bayer is calling on stakeholders to make better use of the social partnership. She tells Business Today that although the Employment Rights Act is in place to address some of the concerns, it is about time that the social partnership is revisited and used to solve some of the ongoing issues. And while she acknowledged that the social partnership had changed over the years, Dr. Bayer insists there are mechanisms within the social partnership that are still relevant.
Some 21 years after our social partnership agreement was first put in place, we've come into a new era. And we need to, even as we develop the new protocol, we need to revisit, first of all, those things in our labor relations and labor management that are important to us and underscore those things. Yes, we have some legislation passed and there are conventions that have been passed around the world and so on, but we still, I find that in some instances we're moving away from our voluntaristic customs and practice to more of what the legislation has in place. Bearing in mind, though, that our legislation, the Employment Rights Act specifically, doesn't speak to everything. It speaks to dismissal. It doesn't speak to retiring. It doesn't speak to a number of situations. It doesn't speak to restructuring and that kind of thing. So I think we have to revisit what is important for us as a country. We know that our social partnership has been responsible for us being able not just to maintain the peace, but to also maintain the kind of working environment that is beneficial to both employer and employee.
Occupational health and safety issues continue to be a concern for a number of organizations as well as the Ministry of Labour. Alison Elcock, Acting Senior Safety and Health Officer in the Occupational Safety and Health section of the Labour Department, tells Business Today the department continues to receive concerns about air quality and ergonomic assessment.
Our concerns at the Labour Department in terms of general safety and health, outside of those two areas, there's still a lot of concern with respect to safety organization and some of the traditional safety hazards that persons are exposed to. For example, work at heights. It is still, like construction sites in particular, we're still not satisfied that as much that can be done is being done to ensure that persons work safely. I mean, and that's one example. Another example would be exposure to chemicals and manual handling. So some of the traditional things still remain a cause of concern for us. What we would want to see persons doing more of is more consultation at the level of the organization, where through the safety committee or the safety delegate, the organizations are able to identify and within their span of experience and expertise address those concerns, and then when it goes beyond what they think that they're competent to do, then they can either reach out to the Labor Department or other agencies to get the assistance.
As we go further into the hurricane season, businesses are being reminded to put the necessary disaster risk management procedures in place to mitigate against the impact of disasters. The message was enforced yesterday as companies took part in the 2015 Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry's BCCI's Disaster Management Workshop Series at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. Elizabeth Riley, Deputy Executive Director of SEDIMA, said it's critical that business operators give due consideration to hazards such as landfill fires, oil spills, flooding, and earthquakes, rather than focusing solely on hurricanes and tropical storms.
I know we give a lot of emphasis to the hurricane season here in the region, but the reality is that there are a broad diversity of hazards which should concern the business community. It's not just about looking at hurricanes, but looking at the broad diversity of the hazards and the risks that it can potentially pose to your businesses. The smaller events which impact our region are also quite critical and have implications for business operations as well. So the floods, when we have flash flood warnings and we have occasion to maybe close down the country early because of flash flood warnings, that has an implication for business as well. So it's not about just a large event, but also the implications of those smaller events.
Riley said the impact on the economy could be devastating, even with small hazards. She cautioned that small and medium enterprises are more vulnerable. Red Stripe beer manufacturers are reporting a strong performance after years of struggling and restructuring. Cedric Blair, Managing Director of Red Stripe, tells Business Today he is satisfied that the company is back on track to regaining its market share. The company underwent a number of structural changes over the last 3 years. He was speaking on the sidelines of the Guinness Street Football Games in Jamaica.
The company has been doing pretty good. We came out of a tumultuous period, and over the last 3 years, we've actually had pretty good growth. If you look at the numbers we've posted as a company, we're a listed company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, so you can see the results that we've posted. We've posted pretty impressive results.
Now for today's financial tip. The summer season is upon us. For many families, that means one thing: a summer vacation. This can be very expensive, but if you examine your options and plan carefully, your vacation does not have to be very pricey. That's been the Business Today. Join us again next Tuesday. Until then, you can get more business and news by logging on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribing to our e-paper, and liking us on Facebook. I'm Vic Fernandes.